Now it was time to climb on board Air Force One to find out what's behind the gleaming fuselage. Chief Flight Attendant Reggie Dixon greeted us. He has worked on the plane for 10 years, the last 4 serving the president.
Air Force One will leave Andrews Air Force Base self-contained.
What he's talking about is no matter how long the trip, the plane leaves with all the food it needs. They have 2 galleys that can serve 100 meals at a time. The president gets his own menu.
Can you tell us anything about his special tastes?
I just say he's from Texas, so he loves his beef.
One item we noticed in the galley, a special list, which tells exactly how top staffers like their coffee.
I've noticed some people are on this,
right,
and some people aren't on it. So is it a big deal to make the coffee order list?
Well, we don't necessarily advertise it, so most people don't really know if they are on it or if they're not.
Then Dixon took us forward to the presidential suite.
I'd like to welcome you to the President's Oval Office aboard Air Force One. As a crew, we like to look at this as the Oval Office for the President while he's on board the airplane. The President will come in and take off his suit jacket, and the very first thing he'll grab is the crew jacket, put it on, and we like to think that the President will have everything that he would need within arm's reach. We have secure phones available to the president as well as non-secure phones. The office is also set up so in the event the president needs to address the nation, video teleconferencing way he can do that as well.
But Dixon told us staff and guests don't just wander up to the president's office.
The protocol on the airplane is that wherever your assigned seat is, you can go aft of your seat, but you should not come forward.
Now it was time to see the most private area on Air Force One.
I'll take you back to the president's personal quarters. As you can see, we have a lavatory, full-range shower, vanity, double sink.
Can I see the shower?
Absolutely.
All right. Now that, for an overnight trip, has got to be quite a luxury to be able to take a shower.
It is. The president also likes to exercise, as we all know. So there'll be times where we'll travel. He'll exercise for about an hour on a bike, and then he'll be able to come in here, get a nice shower, and get off the airplane looking like the president that he is. And this is the suite.
This is the president and first lady's private
suite.
Quarters.
Absolutely. As you see right now, we currently have this area set up where there's 2 beds available for the president and first lady.
Now, I understand the president's particular about his pillows. Does he have special pillows?
He does. It's not out right now, but he likes a very soft pillow. And
you've got it.
We have it.
That's
we most
good.
definitely have it. It's a touch of a button, and they will go down.
And given the irregular hours of the presidential trip, the first couple can rest day or night.
And then another touch of the button, and they can all come right back up.
Presidents have had their own plane since Franklin Roosevelt in 1944 commissioned this C-54 called the Sacred Cow. In 1962, John Kennedy started flying on the first presidential jet. A year later, it would take him to Dallas and bring back his body. In 1990, this 747 took over as Air Force One. Colonel Tillman is the 12th presidential pilot.
This is the Flying White House, so similar to the White House, there's an area for the Secret Service to guard the first family's quarters.
So there are 2 guys stationed here all the time?
It's similar to the White House.
Okay.
Up there. We've got a medical annex, so we've got a hospital on board where the White House medical unit has a doctor and a nurse that'll travel with them all the time. And we've got medical equipment to go ahead and stabilize the president, and then we can get him to a hospital if necessary while we're flying.
Next, Tillman took us to the president's conference room, originally designed as the Situation Room, but now used for meeting with staff on the plane or around the world.
The president will sit right here. He's got the communication he needs to direct the nation as necessary, but he's also got the capability of a 50-inch plasma screen up top where he can actually do video teleconferencing.
One thing we learned is there's a dividing line in the plane. In the forward section, the seatbelts have the presidential seal, denoting that area's special status.
We'll move out of the White House. The tan carpeting is what we consider the White House, and then we'll move into a guest area.
When we get to the blue carpeting, we're out of the White House.
Yes, sir.
Colonel Tillman took us to the area where guests sit. But in recent years, it's also been used to carry the remains of former presidents to the nation's capital and then back home.
office area is set up for the president that has fallen will lay in state back here. So the chairs will come out, the table comes off, the table right there comes out, and then the casket will lay in state right here. But we'll take care of the president from basically in office to when he lays in state. The Air Force One will take care of the president. For like Nancy Reagan and President Reagan, we made the front of the aircraft exactly the way it was when President Reagan was president. So we pulled out the President Reagan's Air Force One jacket. We had Nancy Reagan's jacket. We put them on the chairs up front with the books and the candies and whatever, just to make them at home.
Finally, it was time to head upstairs.
This is the communication suite, so the backbone of the aircraft. So all the phones that you see on board, everything connects up into this area.
How many phones?
About 87 phones. So basically on one side is all the phones on the jet. On the other side are phone lines that they have available, so they're just plugging and playing.
Now, what's the difference in color over here on the right?
The normal communications are in the gray, and then the red is for basically once we want to make a classified call or a secure call for the president or any of the staff. It's available to them.
Colonel Tillman then took us into his office, the cockpit of Air Force One, where he has been an eyewitness to our nation's recent history.
I was with President Bush on September 11th in 2001.
Tillman bristles at stories Mr. Bush was reluctant to return to Washington after the attacks on 9/11.
Many thought he might have been running around the United States, and that wasn't the case. We as the military were protecting him. The president wanted to get back to Washington right away to lead the country, but he was leading the country on Air Force One.
In fact, the colonel was so worried after the initial attacks, he had Air Force personnel guard his cockpit.
I did ask our head security forces person to go ahead and remain up in the crew rest area to make sure that there was until we had everybody accounted for on the aircraft.
So even the people on board Air Force One, you were concerned we might not know who's here?
I just went with the worst case.
The other indelible memory, Thanksgiving 2003, when Tillman flew Air Force One on a secret mission to Baghdad so Mr. Bush could have dinner with the troops.
How did you feel about flying the President of the United States into a war zone?
The president was up in the cockpit with me then, and that's one of the things he mentioned was, what is about bringing the president into a war zone. Prior to taking off, I was extremely concerned because I want my kids when I'm granddad, I want all my grandkids to know that the history books show that Colonel Tillman got him in there safely and got him out.
One thing the colonel won't discuss is security on the plane. It reportedly has defenses to ward off surface-to-air missiles and the effects of a nuclear blast. All Tillman says is the president is well protected. It turns out by tradition, when a president leaves office, so does his pilot, which means come Inauguration Day, 2 public servants will be stepping down.
What's it going to feel like the last time you push the throttle forward and take your president back to Texas?
As the throttles go forward and I start heading to Texas, it's bring back a lot of memories of what I've accomplished over the last 8 years with the president. But once we land there, my deputy, who will be the next president's pilot, I'll move over to the right seat. I'll be his co-pilot. My name tag will come off. His name tag will come on. And it'll be truly an honor for him and truly an honor for me to have served President Bush.